Welcome to the Flying Universe podcast. I'm with Kevin James and Susana Carroll. We are here to share the magic and the chanting, the mantras, the energy of voice and expansion with these two beautiful people who have been traveling. And I don't know how many songs you have on Spotify, but there are a lot. And it's been many years you've been just producing so much for the world in terms of what you offer. And you're here in Europe and Spain. You're coming to Prague soon. You're touring around a little bit. I would love to know more about just where is the where is the essence of the devotion that you bring into the space, and how does it come through with continuously over the years, always showing up, always being in the space.
I wish I knew. Yeah, I think it came from, for me personally, it came from a very deep place within me that's always been there. I remember I grew up in a really big family, and I remember my father making jokes when I'd walk into the living room. He'd say, "Good morning, Kevin. What pearls of wisdom have you got for us today, son?" Ha 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 ha. And I was always philosophizing and just contemplating life. And I guess the devotional path is what fulfills that in some ways, keeping me connected to that because it's just part of my nature. And and I think we have this sense of service too, that the best thing we can do with our life is to find some way that we can benefit our lives as well as others, and this sort of hits both those points really well. I won't speak for Susanna. I think she
I think for me, when I joined Kevin 10 years ago, I didn't really know what was into. He just started to teach me how to play the harmonium song by song. And as I started to to participate more and more in the chanting circles, I could see the effects on people, the energy that creates when we sing all together, when we sing mantras, when we put an intention that is connecting to our heart. And that is what what fits me in a way, like gives me that connecting to that essence and seeing that is so powerful what we share all together in that during that time. That is what keeps us going, really devoted to that, to what happens.
It's so beautiful. And, there's a big audience out there who have no idea what chanting and mantra even means. And there's so many translations into what a mantra can even, translate into for depending where you're coming from and what you know. And I would love to know just what it is that your translation of your mantra or mantra chanting is meaning for you.
Yeah, for me, I have, as you may know, I have a universal approach to mantras. So a lot of mantras come from particular religions, and specifically Hindu. I think the word is mantra is coming from Sanskrit. So Hindu mantras, but there are mantras or devotional hymns that people sing together, or prayers that people chant. Like, for example, in Buddhism, they chant very complicated mantras or prayers, and they also have more short single mantras like Om Mani Padme Hum, for example, or Om Ahung can be repeated again and again. And for me, the sound, the feelings that they create are beyond my understanding. When you are chanting a mantra that's thousands of years old, it's undergone the scrutiny of so many generations who've decided whether to keep it or throw it out. And it must have some use for them. and that use is what has interested me the most, not so much the stories around the particular deities or the stories around the meaning, even the deeper meaning. Like in Buddhism, there's three meanings. There's the literal meaning, there's the deeper meaning, and then there's the secret meaning. But none of those really come near the effect. The effect is what keeps it going, and the effect that it has on you and it has on other people is self-explanatory, and it's the primary focus for us. That's why we have this universal approach. We're looking at what songs and mantras, even songs that I create myself, can have this effect. And I don't know how it happens. Sometimes they just pop out of the ether. Other times they just they come from a long internal struggle with words. For me, words are like prayer. They're spells. They're 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 magic. And they're kind of like, if you think about it, they're made up of letters, and those letters are like a way that we can send a message and receive messages, letters from the divine, from another dimension.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I take words very seriously when I write songs, and I think we both. I bounce songs now off Susana as well, so she quite often gives me feedback when writing songs. But I think we both also scrutinize the mantras that we share too. Are they dogmatic? Are they in alignment with what we want to share with others? And yeah, that's so. Yeah, for me, mantras are really cut and paste with very human sounds that we make, like or shh, or ha, 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 ha. These sounds are universal, and they can, bring up like, these sounds can be expressions of emotion. And if you combine them in certain ways, they can draw out emotions that are cultivating an expression from within. And my attitude is that the 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 emotional energy that we seek when we chant is only able to come through us. We have to share it. And so by sharing it in words, we can channel those emotions to flow through us. And if a mantra can stimulate those emotions and help you to express those emotions in a harmonious way, then we can experience our true nature, which is harmony. And not only within ourselves, but in a room, in a group, together, which is so refreshing. And you would say that the most common word we hear is home, right? It's like, or beyond words. Sometimes people say there's no words, but the most common word that you could find is like home. This feeling of like, I'm in a room full of people who've found that harmony again.
I was
And I
just
think,
having that image as well, just like
yeah,
the synchronicity of so many people in the same space, uh, chanting words and are filled with, you know, let's say positive or higher vibrational words, into creating that energy, that vibration in the space, and connecting to everybody there at the same time, just brings such a elevation to the entire like world that you're in. That's how I feel it for myself.
Mm.
yeah, we're all channels to another dimension, I think, and that that beauty of coming together is really powerful.
Wow. I mean, I've been in India almost more than 10 years ago, and I remember in my first, not even chanting circle, but just mantra kind of listening to it and hearing multiple people, um, chant it over and over and over again was my first experience into receiving this. What are they saying? And moving from what are they saying into like, how does it feel for me? What's happening in the moment? And when I started to move away into, I don't understand what this is, into like, what am I feeling about this? Then I started to really sink in into, oh, this is what they're doing. This is what these people that are, like you guys holding the space and sharing that that offering, that service, that's what's happening. And over the years, the more I was able to kind of sink into it, the more I'm able to like, like you say, just be at home. And it's such a beautiful gift to receive.
Yeah, once I read that one of the interpretations of the word mantra is suspending the mind. So it's in a way, by repeating those mantras, we are putting the mind on hold, so we can connect with our higher self, our divine aspect, however you want to call it. But we are able to connect, and when we sing to different deities, or with every mantra has a different intention. So it's like a different aspect of that divine source is we are connecting with that. So yeah.
So, I mean, like this brings up also the question of, is mantra religious? Is it did it come from a religious aspect? What would you say in terms of that? Did people come to create these words from their own experiences, or did it come first, do you think, from more of a religion, not religion based, but more like devotional practice based?
Yeah, I think religions stem around some shared beliefs about how we connect to an unseen world of spirit that cannot be defined uh, through any kind of physical means, only through signs, only through some kind of belief, and that so the shared beliefs create religions. But just recently we were in Chennai with a really highly educated Hindu philosopher, and he said something that really struck me, which relates to this subject. He said that when a child is growing up, they're unable to really contemplate the obscure nature of God. It's so vast and so universal. So we introduce to them as children characters in the form of particular gods with stories. And those stories and those characters are linked to different aspects of that universal truth. And then as they grow older, they can then dive into understanding more. And it fascinated me that when we were going to some of the local temples, the really old ones, that the statues started to lose their defining principles. They were just very like sometimes just a blob, not really having much form. And it's because once they got older, they didn't need the character so much anymore. They had a deeper connection. They were able to connect directly without the particular character that was associated with it. And so perhaps, that by giving the infinite the ungraspable, unfathomable, infinite source, giving it aspects and characters and things that we can grab hold of until we deepen and can let go of them eventually, is just a very practical way of coming closer to our connection to the divine. And so I'm not afraid of religion. I think we need to just try and understand things more clearly rather than to sort of turn away from things. I turned away from Christianity, for example, and it wasn't until I realized I was cutting off from my roots that I was able to turn back and sort of reconnect with that, trying to understand and finding that there was a lot of nourishment there in doing that. So yeah, I think there is religion involved, but we don't come from any particular religion ourselves, so we sort of have this more of a rainbow attitude of like all religions, all belief systems are welcome, and just come and chant and feel the feeling,
Mm.
because you don't need to have a degree in music to be able to be moved to tears by music, but you can, if you want to, dive into what are the chords, what are the structures, what are the movements of the music, the particular rhythms that are happening, the tempo shifts and all that sort of thing is all there, but you don't need to understand that to be moved to tears. In fact, the more you get in your head about it, the less likely you are to really open up and surrender, like you did in India, for example. The perfect example of that.
Yeah, wow, that was beautiful. Yeah, it brings also from my experience this learning of how to connect with not just the music but the the, this elevated energy of devotion or offering that's happening, and the more connection there is to that, the more that I started to feel like more free and more lighter in such spaces, instead of, like you say, like I had to think so many different things. And I think a lot of people think so many different things about, like, oh, if I sing with them, my voice will ruin the whole session, or it will, like, it's not the same, if I stand up and start dancing, I'm gonna, create, a distraction. And this is, like, I think probably a lot of people go through every time they go somewhere, or in the beginning at least, and moving from that to coming to a space to knowing exactly how it's feeling, how it's happening, and just surrendering to that, like you said, that kind of blank, non association to any religion or how it should be or how it should sound, is where the
Mm.
the real essence comes in, right?
Yeah, this image came to my mind of sometimes you get people like, I need to know what I'm singing. And I'm feeling like I don't want to spend my precious time with you explaining things that you don't need to know. Maybe you could just trust us, So I think we're more, rather than explain the meaning of all the mantras, of which we're no experts ourselves. Sometimes we just try and help people to understand that, don't worry, we're not shoving any dogma down your throat or anything like that, or
Mm,
asking you to believe anything. We're not even asking you you don't have to sing even if you don't want to, just to give people that freedom and hope that they can trust us enough to let go.
mm. And that brings up a question, which is, what is it that you take away from offering this to people in your space?
I'll let you answer first.
Well, I would say, yeah, it's just the feeling of connection with myself, with others, and when I look at people and I see how they started the chanting circle, no, maybe with, as you mentioned, with those fears of, okay, maybe I'm not going to sing, I'm not going to dance, or a little bit close, and then at the end of the chanting circle, some people are like really opening up and singing and dancing, and for me, just to see that freedom that people are allowing themselves to just to be themselves, whatever is coming at that moment, is so beautiful. It's so beautiful to witness that for me, that's, yeah, it's so precious. Yeah.
So it
Do
gives
you,
you a sense of purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes for me, I mean, that connection is definitely strong, and sometimes it can actually be a bit of a sacrifice, because it can be a little bit painful for me, um, being kind of like the main channel of the energy. I think in a big room full of people, it can put so much energy in my body that I can't sleep properly for about 3 days, sometimes 3 or 4 days.
wow.
Susana knows well this dilemma that I have, um, of just after a chanting circle going to bed, and by about 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm just wide awake, and I got so much energy in my body. I have to get up, and then after a few days of that, I look in the mirror. I feel fine, but I look terrible, and my body needs to sleep, and then we're going on to the next event, and I'm up again. So it's like, I can imagine those artists that take coke, that it's it's like this natural drug that also you need to come down from. So that's why, one of the reasons why we do these little tours now. And I can go and we can get high as kites and then come back here and just calm down. We live on the land. We live a double life, really. We have a farm. It's completely rural culture, quiet as anything, just the birds and trees, and I work on the land here, and that just grounds me. I look up at the mountains. We swim in the rivers. We go for walks, and we have a small community of friends, and it's complete contrast to touring. But what I also get out of it is a really beautiful sense of purpose that fulfills my heart, and I think that really is the greatest reward, just to feel that I'm doing something that's good, that in every way I look at it. The only thing is the flying around, I guess, is the sacrifice that we make for the environment as well. Um, but that's, yeah, has a means to an end, and we're sparking this movement around the globe, and people are getting inspired, and more local artists are stepping up, and the scene is growing, and that was the intention that I had 20 years ago, when it was really just an embryo.
When you come to some spaces and the people, you feel that they're super in this grounded, very rooted, that they're not singing, they're not chanting, they're not dancing, they're not standing up. Um, do you have a particular, let's say, card up your sleeve, a trick, a favorite mantra that you're gonna, start to chant, where you're like, okay, we need to get these people going? And I know sometimes it's not that, that doesn't have to be the case, but do you feel like when it's like that, that you push into something into the space to kind of, I don't know, like electrify the people?
Yeah, we have our tricks up our sleeve for sure. But I would say our tactic is to go with the energy.
Mm,
And, and we understand that no matter how restricted we might be feeling because of maybe we're living in a city where we have to sort of protect ourselves, or maybe we're just uncertain, um, that it's very much in alignment with our human nature, and so we just nurture that, and we don't push, we don't we don't push, we don't pull, we go with, and we support that natural surge that happens. And if the group just takes small steps, then we're also happy. But we definitely have some songs that without fail will, get people
mm,
dancing. And on the rare occasion where that doesn't happen, we look at each other and go, wow. We have to come back, have to come back a few
To
times.
cultivate.
Yeah.
mm.
No.
But we understand there are cultures, there are some countries that, yeah, for whatever the situation is, they are self-expression is more suppressed. So yeah, it's fine. We work with that. Mm.
Beautiful. And just as a last kind of question into this beautiful conversation, what would you say from each of you is the like, I would love for each of you to give me a short invitation into how would you invite someone who's completely new into your space? Like, what would you tell them to? How would you invite someone? If I would see someone on the street and be like, "Hey, there's this kirtan thing happening," how would I begin to
Mm.
even say it in a way where they they understand what it means and to just bring them in?
Sometimes I remember when I met Kevin and was explaining to my parents, to my family, what we are doing. I was saying it's like, well, it's like a sort of like a gospel, but more kind of like into yoga and meditation as well. It's all of that mix. So it's about having fun, singing together, dancing, and with intention to, yeah, to be connected with ourselves, to go beyond us, to go beyond our mind, and yeah, just to have a good time. It doesn't have to be serious
Mm,
or religious or no. Everybody's welcome. Mm.
Mm. Yeah. And from my side, I think that it's pretty evident that there's a certain lack of devotion in our modern day society in the West, specifically, um, and religion filled that gap. But we try and fill that gap for those people that reject religion, and or if they have a religion, they're also welcome too, because um, their religion will probably be honored at some point in the circle, because we sing mantras from all different types of religions, all in the same space, and I think that there's also this lack of connection, not only to the divine but also to each other. The music, the coming together, the singing together fills that space of connection to each other, connection to our heart, connection to the divine, and just so that feeling, yeah, it's a way to have an experience through music to reestablish a more connected self, bring that back out into your life, and then I see that's how change really happens from the ground up.
I love how it's just come into like a whole more of a meaning of sing and dance, but at the same time come and transform, basically. So
Yeah.
beautiful. Thank you so much, Kevin, and thank you so much, Susanna. Thank you for coming here onto the Flying Universe podcast. Appreciate
Yeah,
your presence. And I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks in person in your kirtan.
yeah.
Same.
Look forward to that too. It's great to reconnect with you.